Ron, when that Curtis Samuel had an update with or met with the doctors this week,
Right.
any sort of update there?
Not just on the fact he'll be out, they'll continue to evaluate him. We see how he is next week.
Is he making progress at?
Yes.
Okay.
But again, we'll just see how he is next week.
Okay.
Ron, before the bye, you were really optimistic about Curtis coming back after the bye. Is this a change from that at all? And if so,
No,
what-
just listening to what the doctors say. That's the thing we have to do. I'm not the doctor. I'm an optimistic guy too, just so everybody understands that.
And with Cam signing in Carolina, what are your thoughts on that, and have you communicated with him at all?
No, I haven't communicated with him, but good for him. It's an opportunity to play where he started.
For Logan Thomas, is a hamstring the type of injury that you'd like to see him practice a few days before ramping up? Or where
Yes,
does
and
he-
that's one of the things that they've done is they've worked him on the side, and as he ramps up, he feels a little something, so you got to back down. You just have to be smart with it. You can't put him out there and think he's if he feels something, there's just no way.
And so has he made any, is he still sore from Monday's workout, or where do things kind of stand with him?
Well, so far so good. I mean, again, but he's just not ready to be put on the football field, and that's probably the biggest thing. We have to be smart about that.
And how are Dale Roberts and Jared?
Daryl's doing well, as is Jared. And again, now it'll be opportunities.
How tough/frustrating is it to really not know maybe when some of these guys might return, and what difficulties does it give for a coaching staff?
Well, it is difficult, but at the end of the day, you got to play with who you have, and when we make our game plans accordingly. If we feel like we're going to have a guy when we start game planning on Monday, we'll most certainly incorporate him into the offense or defense or special teams for that matter. But what we try to do is we try to get a feel going in on Mondays and then Tuesdays and then right on through Wednesday. So we understand. If you've been in this long enough, you'll know that you may or may not get a guy, but you've got to prepare no matter what. And so we just go ahead and prepare our game plans accordingly.
Do you feel with Curtis's absence that with some of the guys you have now, Dak's development, what you guys have seen, Cam Sims coming back, Deonnie's back, that you're in a better position to maybe do some things without, while missing Curtis?
Well, we feel good about having guys back out there. That's for darn sure. And it really doesn't matter who they are as long as they're guys that, compete and play for us. Having Cam Sims back is great. Having Deommie back is great. I mean, those guys add to what we want to do offensively. The defensive side, obviously, it'd be good to get Montez back, but, we've got to go through, the whole recovery for him. And then, Darryl Roberts, we may get back on the field soon, too, as well. So we'll see. But, these are guys that you can't game plan for until you get some sort of action on Wednesday, Thursday.
Ron, you've talked a lot about the idea of every year you have to start over. If you climb the mountain, you start back at the bottom. I noticed that Bruce Arians made some similar comment right after they won the Super Bowl. Obviously, they're a different team in a different space, veterans, and they had the success they had last year, but clearly they've been able to kind of keep going, and you guys haven't. You've talked about that. Do you kind of is it different, just a matter of the veteran situation over there that you have guys like Brady that have gone through it and makes an easier example to understand for the younger guys you do have to start over? What do you kind of see as the difference beyond certain other aspects?
Well, I think you started off by saying it perfectly, Tom Brady. I mean, I think that really speaks for itself. You look at what they did the year before they got Tom, and, they were close, but they hadn't gotten over the hump. They get Tom, and then you see everything kind of comes together. You have a guy with his experience, his years in the leagues, his 6 Super Bowl rings before he got his 7th, and that's going to speak very loudly in your locker room. For any team in this league, that's the biggest difference.
We talk all the time about quarterback. You've talked about the idea of, do you guys have a franchise quarterback, whatever. But even within that position, there's different levels. So when we talk about this, do people miss the point sometimes of, there's even within good quarterbacks, there's only a handful of guys who are like a Brady who have that kind of not just play on the field but leadership often, and that can be the difference that even teams.
That is, but again, one thing we're suffering through this year has been a number of injuries too. And key injuries. You look at what's happened with the offensive line, losing your entire right side. Now we lose our starting center. You lose your tight end, you lose a couple of other vertical threats. I mean, that adds up. It makes it difficult, and I think the guys that are playing are fighting. They're giving their best, but we're a little undermanned. But nobody cares. That's the nature of the game. You got to win football games, and that's the bottom line.
Is there a point with Curtis where you might just decide, this year's just not working out for him, we might have to just give up and wait till next year almost?
Well, if we do that, then obviously we do have to. So we're gonna try and exhaust everything we can first before we decide anything, and we'll see what happens. Again, we'll see what comes out of this last episode, and we'll see. Got our fingers crossed. We'd love to have him back because he's a heck of a football player.
And for corners, BSJ out. I just wonder, what do you make of Kendall Fuller's year so far? I don't think we talk about him too much, but what have you made of how he's played at corner?
I think Kendall's played solid. He really has. And if there's been a constant back there, he's been one of them. And it's been good to watch because, last year he started, a little injured, and as the year wore on, he played really well. And that's what we're seeing again. We're seeing that consistency, that solid play. So it's been good. It's been good to watch.
Anything else? Yeah. You were talking about with Curtis, you said you're an optimistic person. Where do you think that mindset for you comes from?
I just believe if you got a chance, you got a chance. And that's just kind of the way I look at things, I go back to what Henry Ford said. If you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And that's just the way I look at it. I've always looked at things that way.
As a coach or even before that?
Always. I've always looked at that. All I need is a chance.
With that open roster spot with Montez out for a bit, do you plan to bring in?
Yes. Yes, we're going to activate one of our guys. Okay, that should come. I believe it'll come tomorrow. Just so you guys know. Yeah, it'll be a 53 signing, and he'll be active as well.
And Ron, sorry, I missed it, but Brandon Scherf was not on the injury report?
No, Brandon's had a really good week, and because of that, he looks good and he'll play.
Jamin Davis, just what kind of progress has he made, and just what kind of progress has he made?
Oh, no, I think he's made a lot of progress. I mean, when you take a look at, when we started rookie minicamp, OTAs, throughout fall camp, and then even, game to game to game to game. And I know everybody wants to, and I do this too, you want to put something in the microwave, right? Hit the 30-second express button, pull it out, and I'm ready to eat. And everything's ready to go. And it doesn't work that way. And, I love to measure progress by, you see little things. That really, something might have been giving him a little bit of trouble, and then boom, all of a sudden, plays it just right, reads it just right, those types of things. And I love seeing those kind of little things and him growing in that way. And so I've seen it, especially when it comes to keying and diagnosing and trusting his keys and responding quickly to what he knows and being able to talk it. And even in the meetings, jazzing it up with Cole or a safety or whatever. Those are all signs of growth, because usually young players, especially if they're talking to their peers, if they're not overly confident, I'm not going to say a lot. If I don't have a lot of knowledge on covering sports and writers and things like that, I'm not about to talk to you guys about it because I'm going to look like a fool. So when you see young players willing and getting excited and getting more comfortable and more confident talking about it even, that's another really good sign of growth. And some of these things people don't see, obviously, and I do, and I really think he's headed in the right direction. Very accountable, wants to be really, really good. Has good work habits. Cole Holcomb's a great role model for him. John Bostic was a great role model for him. So he's seeing people do things the NFL way, and I think that's important for any rookie, regardless of who you are, to see how it's done in a professional manner, because of all the time that goes into outside of when we're meeting together officially. They put a ton of time in, very much like quarterbacks on offense, with each other, doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So I'm very, very pleased with him, and I'm proud of what he's doing.
Is there a play or two where he, I know it's always a growth process. It's going to be good and bad, but is there a play or two that you point to and say, he couldn't have made this play a couple weeks ago, but he's making it now because of whatever reason?
Yeah, none of them jump to mind. Just I think in general, just you see some things where he goes and he runs and he hits and, and again, I like to measure growth not as an absence of issues anymore. It's the time between certain things is longer. Or sometimes you have to measure growth where, oh man, he was so close, but he was 10 times closer than he was 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? And that's growth, and that's positive. And it's very, very important for a coach to point out those things, especially with young men or young people that want to be perfect and want to do things the right way, and they can get discouraged. So, we have a no-fear environment in our room. I think mistakes, are the old adage, mistakes are like fertilizer. They stink, but they help stuff grow. But it's so true. Sometimes you got to make mistakes to be able to do that. You got to touch that hot stove to be able to move forward. But I don't have a play or two in mind in particular. But I guess one of them would be I think John ended up getting a sack. What was it? Might have been against the Chiefs. It was at home. We did this little third down twist game, whatever. I mean, he did it to a T, and he came around, maybe didn't get the sack, but in doing what he did, opened up one of his teammates to pop right through there, and boom, it was down. So, I mean, little things like that, and really what it was how he did it that set up everything. And maybe earlier he wouldn't have done it that way, and the line would have been able to pass it off. It's a little bit more obvious, et cetera. But he's learning those little subtle things to be able to make things happen. So I'm very pleased. A very long-winded answer to a short question, but I'm pleased with where he's going.
When John Bostic goes down, you guys obviously going to have other guys need to step up, and obviously with sub packages, you often only have 2 linebackers on the field. But what have you sensed from the other guys behind Jamin and Cole at this point, and how have you seen them progress?
Oh, I think they've really done a good job. I mean, you've seen Dave Mayo out there, you've seen Kalik Hudson and some out there. Our guys are doing great on special teams. The Mayos, the Hudsons, Jordan Kanashik, Jared Norris before he got dinged up. Those guys are playing really, really good special teams. They bring a lot of energy to the room. They're in there studying, after hours, just like the starters are, because they know that they're one play away from being able to play. But, you've seen Mayo out there in some different packages. We're just trying to utilize our personnel to the very, very best that we think to their strengths. What do they bring to the table that can help us in certain situations? And I think, Jack and the staff and Ron, we've done a good job of jazz sessioning that and getting people where they need to be able to help us make plays and play good defense. So I'm really pleased with those guys. A young guy like Kalik Hudson, has really grown and matured, and he's learning how to play all the spots. I think, to be that Swiss Army knife, I tell him you got to be bilingual. And be able to do that. Cole did it as a young player. Bostic can do it. Being able to grow a young man like that is very, very important for his development too, because the more positions you play, there's subtle differences. You see things differently, and then you have to have a bigger picture view because you can't just memorize each spot. You have to think of things conceptually, and I think for young players that's fantastic because it gets them outside of a little narrow box, and it really opens up their field of vision to be able to grow later on in their career and pay a lot of dividends. And then that way too, you only have so many guys active. It's my job to make sure that if someone needs to, fix their helmet or, blow out a shoe or whatever, that the next guy in is not the next guy at that position, but the next best player we think that fits what we're doing right now. And that's why you got to build a little bit of redundancy there.
And with a guy like Kalik, obviously, because he's a draft pick and he this is a linebacker, people are like, oh, he could possibly be a guy that maybe starts for the team at some point or what have you. But even with the injury, he hasn't played more. And again, I understand you guys are using more defensive backs, what have you. But and he's still a young player. But is his future role, something where he could potentially be a starter, or is it just maybe should we not maybe look at him in those terms, i.e. the one of the main guys out there? Is he ultimately more of a role player, special teams guy? Things like that, or do you think that's just too early to tell?
Oh, no, I think it's one of those deals where you've got a young player that has a lot of different skill sets. He brings a lot to the table. I like to view Leak as a Swiss Army knife. You can pull out a spoon and a fork and a knife and a scissors and a file. There's a lot of really good things that he can do, and I think he's learning how to, he was truly a Swiss Army knife in college. And, I mean, they had him at safety, and he's rushing the passer, and he's on a tight end, and then he's off the ball linebacker. And, they used him in so many roles. He's learning and done a really good job of learning how to play truly linebacker. And I think the sky's the limit for Leak. Got a lot of faith and confidence in him. And, I love the trajectory that Leak's on, and I certainly wouldn't put him into a box by any stretch of the imagination. I think that he's got a very, very bright future for us, whatever role that we have that we need him to play. But I'm very, very excited about Leak, and you're not going to find a guy that practices harder or goes out there and prepares, and he's certainly chomping at the bit for an opportunity as well. But we've just got to deploy our pieces the best way that we see it, and we've got some good football players on this defense. There's no doubt about that.
We see Landon do warm-ups with the DBs, and it sounds like he's still taking meetings with Chris Harris. But what has your role been like as you've tried to get him maybe used to playing linebacker, and what do you think he's added to that unit, or at least playing closer inside the box? I don't know if it's strictly linebacker.
He's not a linebacker. We deploy a three-safety defense, and those guys are pretty interchangeable, and it's pretty exciting. We continue to do neat things with those guys because of their skill sets, and we're always going to deploy our chess pieces, so to speak, to maximize those. So really, I talk to Landon, obviously. I talk to everybody. I talk to corners, safeties, D linemen, because that's just we're all in it together, and we're always talking to people, especially when you're a linebacker coach. You're talking to safeties, just talking passing. I don't coach Landon. I don't, and I like watching Landon play. That's for sure, and he does a lot of neat things, but. And there's a lot of things linebackers can learn from him. There's a lot of things safeties can learn from him. A lot of things that a lot of people can learn from Landon. But he's with Chris and Rock and Weiss, and when it comes to coaching guys, we coach our guys that we're responsible for, and he's a safety.
Cole Holcomb, what kind of growth have you seen in him, just year over year?
Yeah, Nicky, it's been fun to see because, I watched obviously all his plays. I wasn't here during his rookie year, watched him in college. It's fun to see a guy that was, kind of a hybrid in college, then kind of come in here and play a different scheme than we play a little bit, and then just watching him grow, just being able to do little things like how quickly he key and diagnoses things. It's the same things we're talking about Jamin. And it's good to be able to throw on some clips every now and then of Cole when he was a rookie, or Cole talk about when he was a rookie, so Jamin doesn't always feel like this is uncommon. I'm going through, how to key and diagnose certain plays, because even though there's a lot of things from the college game that may transfer over, there's a lot of things that don't, especially when you start looking at the number of under center plays that you have, the motions, the shifts, the slice and jets, and all the different things that grab your eyes that aren't there so much in college. But to watch young linebackers like that grow into being able to key it, feel it really fast, go where they need to be, whereas, for instance, when Cole was younger, it wouldn't even be a play action fake, and he would just automatically step up, and that's not dogging on Cole. It was just they're all taught to go, 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 and it was like, oh crap, now that doesn't happen very often at all. To be able to watch him run the show defensively with the helmet mic, to watch how hard he works and the number of hours that he puts in, the questions that he comes up with on a daily basis. Sometimes the thoughts, hey, Coach, what do you think about doing it this way, da-da-da-da. That's really, really neat because you can see a guy that continues to grow and be a next-level thinker. So just his overall development from key and diagnose to being able to use his hands more, that was kind of foreign to him early on. Now he's getting to be more confident, still things that he's working on, but his pad level, his confidence, how he presents himself to the guys in the huddle, what he says between plays. I mean, grabbing guys here, grabbing guys there. It's really neat to see him grow in all of those areas, but I'm proud of him.
Do any examples stick out of how his thinking can help the defense?
It shows up a lot. I mean, for instance, today it happened to be a certain third down situation. He kind of took a look at the formation and went, hey, guys, alert, da-da-da. And he was right on it. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden, just a little bit of an alert. Or, hey, they just be aware of, maybe this set of play. And then all of a sudden, boom, he yells it out. And dang, we're able to rally to it a little bit quicker. Those types of things, really next level stuff. Being able to kind of play ahead of the play by saying, okay, this is the situation, this is the formation, this is the play. Really all the data that he has to be able to process and can process is pretty neat. Being able to make certain calls, you're there, let's put these guys here. be able to take information from Jack, through the headset real quickly and concisely being able to tell people what Jack wants to get quickly relayed before the play starts. I mean, it's pretty extensive, and it's pretty often that shows up in a positive way.
And he talked about wanting to be more consistent this year. What have you seen from him consistency-wise?
Yeah, I think it's grown. In the bye week, we obviously go through everything in the bye week, and I really felt, we try to break things up in quarters, and you analyze it, and you're looking at all the data, and you're looking at these types of things, and I really thought the growth he made from the first quarter of the season, so to speak, I know we can't talk in quarters anymore because we've got the extra game, but to the second quarter of the season, boy, you really saw a crispness and a sharpness, more consistency that you were saying that he was talking about. You just saw it be more consistent each and every game, I think, when it comes to being on the details, and then the comfortability of being able to run the show and those types of things. Because there is a little bit of a growth that comes with having to make the calls, and because invariably somebody doesn't hear it, and it's loud. Hey, what's the call? And you're trying to focus on your job, and you're still trying to make sure everybody knows what's going on. And there's certain level of comfort that has to be developed in doing that, and I've seen that grow as well.
When Landon is on the field in kind of the box area, what is he doing well that, he has those like linebacker traits, even if he's still a safety? What makes him, like, with how you guys deploy him, just like, what is he doing well using those linebacker traits, or what do you say?
I think Landon does a lot of stuff well. First of all, he can give you a lot of multiplicity where he can look like he's in one spot but doesn't have to be there. When you play linebackers, I mean, your linebackers are usually where your linebackers are. And Landon can do a lot of stuff where, I'm over here I am, and then all of a sudden now I'm not, and then I'm not going to get talking to scheme and things like that. But he gives you a lot of multiplicity. I mean, he's very decisive. He's strong. He's physical. He's instinctive. He blitzes well. All those types of things. And when you've got an athlete like that can do all the things that you need to do, we're going to use them every chance we get in every way we can think of. So it's fun. I think he's having a lot of fun with it too, not to speak for Landon. I enjoy watching him play.
He's good right now. Felt good today at practice.
And just what was kind of, like, how limiting was it the past few weeks, and what was it like kind of just being out and not being able to go?
Yeah, no one wants to be out when you're a competitor, but some injuries you have to listen to your body, and those are one of them.
I guess big picture, how would you describe your season so far?
Roller coaster, I'm still learning, still taking it one game at a time, and I only could get better with the more the reps in and the more comfortable I get with the defense.
What are the biggest things you're focusing on learning, and what would help you feel more comfortable with the defense?
I'm just focusing on learning everything, how we do things around here, what I need to get done within the defense, and I've been taking in on that and taking that serious.
What specifically do you need to get done in the defense?
I can't explain one thing. You always want to get better as a professional athlete, so all around the board.
And we talked about your footwork earlier this year, something that I know that you talked about on social media as well. Where do you feel like that's at in terms of progressing to where you want it to be?
I definitely been trying to do the things that they want me to do, trying to do the technique that they want me to play. So, it ain't gonna come second nature when you haven't done it before. So I'm still working on it every day.
Ron said that the knee was something you might have been dealing with in training camp. Has this just been something you've kind of played through for the first half of the season?
We always play through injuries. That's our job, is to be on the field and not complain. So, it's something that's been lingering, but, we play through things.
I mean, obviously, coming here, you knew there would be some differences in going from mostly man to zone. Is it what you expected in terms of the transition? Is it, how does it kind of meet, what you were anticipating, I guess?
Yeah, I'm still getting used to that. I'm still getting used to going from zone to man. Because previous, I was mostly a man guy, but, it's a transition, you know, to being off of guys, then to go down the press. Yeah, it's a big transition for me.
And you also said earlier that you were changing up some of the man techniques too. So when you're kind of caught between learning a new system and having come from an old one, how does that affect the play on the field?
It affects you because, you know, you don't want to mess up. So you're thinking a lot. You try not to give up plays. So it's a lot that go into it when you come into a new defense because everybody wants to do good. But, you know, when you're going into a new style of defense like this, every day is a transition phase. You know, you're working the techniques that they want you to work. And it's all about being comfortable and having confidence.
And then when you look ahead to Sunday, Mike Evans, how much have you faced him, and what are your thoughts on him as a receiver?
He's a good receiver. You know, he's a Pro Bowler for sure. He's a tall guy, so you know, I got nothing but good things to say about Mike.
I think you went up against Tom Brady in 2019 when you guys played New England. Obviously you've gone up against other good quarterbacks. He's obviously at the top of the list. What was when you went up against him? What did you find to be the most interesting part of facing him?
Oh, we all know that he's a great quarterback. He's gonna throw the ball right up where his receiver can get it. You know, he's a great quarterback. Been around for a while, so it's gonna be kind of hard to, I want to say, disguise certain things because he played so long.
And you're coming back this week, but it looks like Benjamin's going to be out he's out with in the concussion protocol, which means you guys haven't had your normal complement in the secondary for a bit now. And I know it's always the next man up, but still, how frustrating is it to not be able to have the group back there that you kind of hope you're going to have, week in, week out?
Yeah, that's just how it is in this league. You know, guys get hurt, things happen. Only thing you can do is next man up and pray that he get better and come back with us.